that is a big blue hole. So big. Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to Sea-Cember. It's a time of year where we get to hit the open waters and explore mysterious islands and other things that don't really make a ton of sense for this time of year, but then again, last year it was about space, so we do our own thing here. On this first episode, I wanted to talk about Dave the Diver. Seacember! Now, of course, just like last year, we have a checklist we have to go over, but new year, new checklist. So, let's see here. Fishing. Kind of, yes. Spearfishing. Spearfishing. But yes, Dave the Diver does have fishing. Diving? Well, yes, it's right there in the name. Sharks? Yes, quite a few sharks. Pirates? I don't know about pirates. Not the way you think about pirates. Well, yeah, no, kind of pirates. Sea monsters? Yes, lots of sea monsters. Grog? I mean, you do serve drinks at the bar, but they're more cocktails than oh, no, you can serve beers. Grog, yeah. Yes. Scurvy. Oh no, there's some scurvy dogs in this, but, no, I can't really claim scurvy. Sorry, Dave. You were doing pretty well there, though. Dave the Diver starts with Dave, the Diver, going off to meet his friend Bancho, who has started a sushi restaurant right outside the Blue Hole. The Blue Hole is this mysterious depths that seems to be in the middle of an island chain, where the seas constantly change, and it allows you to go in and catch a whole bunch of fish that you can use to make sushi. That's the basic gist of Dave the Diver. The basic structure of Dave the Diver is pretty easy to understand. You can do 2 dives during the day, and then later on get the ability to possibly do a night dive. You go into the Blue Hole, and there are randomly generated elements to this every single day, so things aren't exactly the way they were before. This is part of the mysterious element of the Blue Hole that they talk about quite a bit. Realistically, these are sort of hand-wavy justifications for how they had to do the game, but it works. Sure, okay, things change around a lot. There's some randomly generated elements, mostly meaning that things like, sharks or fish, tuna, other elements that you might want to get, ingredients you could pick up, treasure chests, etc., are not in the same place every single time, which might help with some replayability, and you don't have to just think about the memorization of where elements are. You really can't do that. The main thing that you have to be concerned about when you get into the Blue Hole is your oxygen meter. Something that I think is very interesting about Dave the Diver is that your oxygen meter is also essentially your health. When your oxygen meter runs out, you die. Okay, you don't actually die. What happens is that you get an emergency rescue, but you can only take one thing that you have procured on your dive with you. Everything else is lost. The oxygen meter can also deplete not just over the course of time as you stay in the Blue Hole, but it can be wiped out in chunks if you get attacked by any of the sea creatures that are down in the Blue Hole. That's why I say it's kind of like your life meter, an ever-decreasing one. This is the only mechanic that really limits the time that you are in the water. There really is no other time frame. As long as you can keep your oxygen going, you can stay down there as long as you want. Well, there's that, and of course, weight limits. There's a weight limit, too. Sorry, you can't just pack up an entire school of tuna over your backpack. Doesn't really work that way. Over the course of the game, though, you do get a lot of upgrades so that you can mitigate that problem store a lot more on you, have a lot more oxygen available, and increase the damage of your knife or your other various guns that you get. You also get these like little mini subs and steel netting that you can use to get your larger fish hauled up to the surface so that you don't have to hold it on you. Fish are categorized by 1, 2, and 3 stars for just how valuable they are. So if you just outright kill a fish, you shank it with your knife, that's a 1-star fish, and it's not going to lead to you getting much meat out of it. If you, however, spearfish something, that would be like a 2-star fish, because you've essentially caught it before it was dead. But if you want the nice 3-star rankings, you need to basically put the fish to sleepy sleep and then come and collect it so that it's live. This is not as hard later on in the game when you get things like tranq guns and what I mentioned, the steel netting, and a lot of other ways to just nullify your fish in the ocean. But at the start, it might be a little trickier. But now you might be asking yourself, what is the point of all of this? To catch the biggest fish? Well, I mean, you'd like to catch the biggest fish, I'm sure. But the thing about Dave the Diver is that it has many elements to it. The first, main one, is the diving aspect. The second one is the sushi restaurant aspect. Like I mentioned before, Bancho, your buddy, has started a sushi restaurant right outside the Blue Hole, and would very much like you to help him by procuring ingredients that you can use in sushi. Running around this restaurant will seem very tedious at first, as you try to serve dishes to your customers and drinks and clean up all of their messes so that you can get money. But after a little while, you start to realize that this in some ways is also a management sim, where you have to hire new people to do the serving and do the preparation at your restaurant. And this is really where you kind of become extraneous to the night. One thing that is also interesting is I was mentioning the night dives before, and what you can do on those night dives is you can say, I can go on the night dive, and that is going to be helpful because there are certain fish that you can only catch at night, but it's going to take out a portion of your night that you can have the restaurant open, so there's less time for you to actually make money at the restaurant itself. So there's very much like a give and take to some of these elements, which I think was very nice. You can learn new recipes. Bancho can get inspired when you build up enough credibility at this restaurant. There's a phone that you have available to you with apps, and this is how you manage everything in the game, right down to their version of Instagram, where you're basically getting a lot of credibility and raising up your ranks so that you can access more recipes and features in the game. There's a whole upgrade system for guns, and a very interesting thing that they do is you can't take the guns out of the water because apparently they like break down, but you do get like some information about the gun so that eventually if you collect them a certain number of times, your buddy who sleeps with like an anime pillow, he can build the gun so that you can actually use it and take it into the water with you. Why do the guns break down? I still don't really know. There's an in-game reason, but it is very much just like this is why you can't have the gun immediately. You have to collect it a few times, and then we'll let you build it. It's hand-waved away. There's in-game reasons for a lot of these mechanics that don't really make sense, but they do try to address it, and I do have to give them credit for it. Eventually, you unlock other things over the course of this game. You get gloves so that you can handle things like spiny urchins under the sea. You get a farm so that you can actually like grow a lot of the vegetables and rice that you use in the sushi. There's a fish farm where you can collect roe from the different fish that you collect and breed them, which starts to actually take out from the diving part of this, because there is eventually a late game part where you realize it's mostly the management sim, where I can just raise a bunch of fish in my fish farm continuously to get tons of ingredients, and also that I have a chain so that I have my main restaurant, and I also have a second restaurant that I get to manage with ingredients. So making sure that they're both stocked with the right ingredients is useful. And what I found at the very end of this was that the diving really became kind of extraneous to managing everything else, because you can make plenty of money without even diving. However, that is way later in the game. I'm talking, you're like 70 hours in. Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned that I was like 80 hours into Dave the Diver by the time I was done. I saw the end of it, I went through the story missions, and I also went through the free DLC. Right, there's some free DLC to Dave the Diver. One of them is Godzilla. Now, it's not nearly as rich as you'd want it to be, but there are a couple missions where you get to be in a submarine, and you go take care of a big kaiju creature, and then at the end you do a Rock'em Sock'em robot thing where you get to control Godzilla, and you can also collect special collector figurines of the Godzilla kaiju in the waters afterward as like a little bonus collectathon. So there's that. But the one that really stands out to me was the Dredge DLC. Wink wink for another game we're going to talk about later in the month. The Dredge DLC is really neat because there will be this like crimson fog that rolls in occasionally during the game, and will allow you to do like a little bit of a dredge mini game where you collect a few special things out on the waters of the blue hole, and then get to do a night dive that is specifically for these like abominable fish that are ripped straight out of the game Dredge. And that is really neat, because then these like mysterious figures, also a holdover from Dredge, come to your bar specifically, and they will only want to eat dishes that you have made with these abomination fish. A neat little diversion from your typical formula. In general, the game is trying to be very light. You know, you learn a lot about this world and mysterious, like, mer people that live under the water, and ancient civilizations, and all of these fun little story beats, and some wacky characters that you meet along the way. But the thing that's really great about Dave the Diver is that as soon as you start to get used to the formula of what you're doing, they add something else in. There's always something new. It seems like you can't go more than like a couple in-game days without them adding in a new element that integrates well into the overall gaming experience. Combat in the game is pretty limited, but it can be a little intense because a lot of the larger sea creatures in the game are kind of faster and more nimble than you, so you have to really start thinking about how you can utilize your skill to avoid getting absolutely wrecked by a tiger shark. More often than not, though, it's just the timer running out because you were exploring and can't find a source of oxygen. That usually leads to your downfall. But even so, the fact of the matter is that you get used to that and how to manage your oxygen meter over the course of time. Getting into even deeper depths allows you to experience new biomes, even down to frozen and volcanic environments later on in the game. What's fascinating is that they're even giving you brand new biomes to explore well into, like, the game, like at 40 or 50 hours, you're still uncovering new things, new story beats. There's just a lot there. Really impressive for the game that it is. There's mini games, and there's new quest lines to go on, and there's just so many things to do in the game, and at least they all kind of come back to a satisfying game loop where, you go and you collect fish, and then you use the fish to make sushi, and that gets you money so that you can get better equipment, so that you can fish more, and you can buy ingredients, and then those ingredients help you make better dishes that are higher quality, that people will like more, so that you get better rankings, so that you can unlock new features, so that you can do more fishing. And the nice thing is that it always focuses on Dave and the fishing part, pretty much right up until the end when you realize that it's a management sim. Up until that point, though, it does feel really more like a cozy game, a casual game, almost like a farming sim. It does share some similarities to Stardew Valley in that way. But I have to say that overall, I can't really complain too much about Dave the Diver. It is the kind of game that I was able to play and enjoy for 80 hours or so, and we'll probably periodically go back to it as they seem to put some new elements in once in a while, mostly partner promos that they do that are resulting from them having associations with other games. Dredge is one of those examples. So for me personally, I would recommend Dave the Diver. I think that it has a lot more to it and a lot more content than people might think. But it's not just slog content. That's the thing. There's a lot of games that will put in checklists and stuff like that just to pad out the runtime. Dave the Diver does the interesting thing of giving you, like, new elements and stuff that enhance the overall gaming experience as you go through it, even late into the game. So it doesn't feel tacked on. It really feels like it's always enhancing and expanding the ideas that have already been presented in the game. There aren't a ton of, like, collectathons or laundry lists of stuff to do. Most of what it implements is adding to the basic gameplay loop that hopefully you enjoy up at the front. So basically, if you've started Dave the Diver and you enjoy the basic mechanics of the diving and the sushi restaurant that you get into in the first hour or two, chances are you're going to like everything that comes past that. Well, you scurvy dogs, thank you for coming with me on the first excursion of Sea-Cember, and we'll be walking the plank yet again next week with another wonderful oceanic adventure. I don't know which one. It's gonna be good, though. I say with confidence, unearned.